The Root of All Evil, Frederick Devereux, excerpt from a play written by Tasmin Jahan. Scene 1, 1970s. Vazaria Aston, a small town in England. It is a dark and cold night. Two ruffians, Jim and Razor, appear in a quiet country lane. A cadaver is sprawled in front of them. Jim is kneeling down, holding the cadaver's pale hand, while Razor is standing beside him. They both seem anxious.
Can you find her pulse?
I'm trying.
This is all your fault, you know.
Just shut up, Razor.
All we were supposed to do was scare her.
I know what we were supposed to do.
Mr. Devil's going to be furious. Do you think he'll pay us after this?
I don't know.
Have you found it then?
Will you stop?
Let me try.
No, I can manage.
She looks really dead, you know. The shovel must have really hurt.
That was our idea, remember?
Oh, beneath that pale look, she seems rather peaceful, don't you think?
You need to drag her body to Monument Valley and hide it.
What about Mr. Devereux? What are we going to tell him?
I have to tell him the truth.
Well, we're not used to telling the truth.
We killed her by accident. We didn't do it on purpose. I'm sure he'll understand.
Mr. Devereux's going to torture us. I never wanted to die young. Do you think he'll give us a last wish?
Razor, please put a cork in it. Someone might hear you.
My last wish would be to see Mexico. That would be my dream come true. Me, the chicas, a nice sombrero, and a big bottle of whiskey. After that, I don't mind dying.
Why don't you ask Mr. Devereux if he'll pay for a one-way ticket to Mexico?
Do that, you know what? I don't like aeroplanes.
You could swim to Mexico. But I think that would be a little risky for you.
My dad always said I was a strong swimmer.
Really?
Once the water gets warm, I'll give it a go.
Are we done with the fantasy now?
One day I'll make it to Mexico. You'll see.
Will you stop harping on about your life and concentrate on what we're doing here? Now, judging by the standard of the job, I think Mr. Devereux won't be too severe.
Jim, I'm scared. Maybe we should lie.
Oh, stop being so stupid. All we have to do is be upfront about it. Then we'll see what happens. If we're forced to leave town, we'll go to my uncle's farm.
Are you sure you didn't find her pulse?
Razor, she's dead. We killed her, good and proper. We better take her to Monument Valley. Come on now.
You know, I did have a funny feeling about this job today. This morning when I was trying to eat something, I couldn't put it in my mouth. It was as if somebody had tied a knot in my throat.
You grab her legs and I'll grab her arms.
Do you think she's got any money on her?
No, already checked.
Apple pie?
What?
I really fancy some apple pie. I like it when the warm, juicy apple bits melt in my mouth, you know. What about cigarettes?
She didn't look like a smoking toy.
Mm.
This ain't staying in her teeth.
Shame. I could really do with a pie. Yes, shame. I could really do with a. What do you think her dying wish would have been, you know, if she knew she was going to die?
Since when we care?
Oh, she's so young and pretty. I bet she looks wonderful in pink. I bet she has a handsome boyfriend who really loves her and misses her when she's not there. If her boyfriend knew about this, I bet he would rush to be at her side, hold her very close to him, look into her lovely eyes, and kiss her so gently until her soul is no longer with his.
Have you finished, Dr. Love? Now can we get on with it?
Well, as her boyfriend isn't here, do you think I should kiss her?
Not only are you stupid and strange, you're also really disgusting. Why do you want to kiss a dead girl?
I haven't kissed a woman in 3 years, and that was my mother.
Razor, it's almost midnight. We need to hurry.
Just a peck on the cheek, then.
No!
Oh.
I'm not gonna let you be disgusting in front of me.
Well,
It's worm food now. You're not gonna kiss worm food in front of me.
I wish some girl would fancy me.
On a count of 3, I'm gonna pick her up. Ready?
I have such high hopes.
1,
I could take her to Mexico.
2,
We would swim together to Mexico.
3.
Oh, oh my God, she's quite heavy for a thin girl. Oh,
Just shut up, will ya?
sometimes I wish I had family like yours. You got a wife, 4 kids, and 3 sheep. I've only got a small roof over my head with my and a ferocious donkey called Dracula.
Just hold her properly, will ya?
I am holding her properly.
Now, keep up with me.
One day I'll make it to Mexico. You'll see.
They exit carrying the cadaver. Scene 2, the next day at the Devereux mansion. Frederick Devereux and his youngest son, Benjamin, are in the study. Frederick Devereux is 60 years of age, the head of the family, a man of great opulence and superiority. Benjamin is 24 years old and is sitting close to him. He is on edge. Frederick appears to be in a good mood.
You seem rather happy today, Father.
I have cause to celebrate, my son. Would you like to join me for a drink?
Sure, why not? Whatever you're having.
Oh, this certainly marks the end of a contemptuous period.
Contemptuous? Father, what are you talking about?
Well, there was this awful constraint, this ugly head of poverty-stricken gunk within my realm that I had to crush. I thought I would take the matter slowly and then go in heavy-handed. But the buffoons accidentally went overboard and made that jubilant vision come true.
What buffoons?
Benjamin, my dear son, I have been so worried about you. For the past few months, things have been rather tense between us. We have been rude and unbelievably distant from one another. Your Auntie Sophie talked of living within a war zone. Now, for the first time, we can say goodbye to all that heartache and start afresh.
Father, are you talking about Michelle and I?
Yes. The biggest and most distressing mismatch in the whole of Vazaria Aston.
But I thought I made my feelings absolutely clear about this. No matter what, I want to be with her. I love her.
As a father, it is my responsibility to keep the family name always on the highest pillar possible. Nobody had the audacity to tarnish even a little bit of our reputation. Until you made your unfortunate announcement.
There's nothing wrong with Michelle.
No, there never was. It is just that her background is appalling. And a family name is muck. And a standard of living bears similarity to our sick cows on the farm.
Father, I demand you stop this kind of talk.
I'm only saying it how it really is. We have built an enviable empire through the years with blood and sweat. We deserve to have what we have. Nobody helped us. We had to start from scratch. Just take a look. Everything around you is all down to hard work. Who wouldn't want to be in our shoes? You can only define real loss if you have something like this to lose. I'm always looking at a much bigger picture than you. My gaze sees more facets than anybody else in this mansion. You're simply thinking about yourself, whereas I am thinking of an entire generation.
If I were to think about others, then where would I come into it? Who would consider my feelings? I thought you were a firm believer in every man for himself. Therefore, I still stand by my decision. I want to marry Michelle. I want to lead a happy and honest life with Michelle, and Michelle only.
Happiness and honesty? With a pauper?
Once again, Father, thank you for reminding me of her status within society. Please do remember, honesty is the best policy.
No, it is not. Honesty never was the best policy. That proverb was only intended for those who had no money, no dignity, and no suitable standard of living. Don't give me such shoddy talk. Honesty breeds objectionable implications. If we were always honest with each other, we would have more enemies. There would be no point in achieving our goals. There would be no more suicides. And above all, every person's weaknesses would be exposed.
I must say, I do not wish to make you my enemy, but if I am penalized for being honest, then so be it. I have no other choice.
You are asking for the impossible. You are preparing yourself to die like a hungry and foolish man. Do you know what it is to be hungry? You will only realize your mistake, as many people do, when it is too late.
But I sincerely hope that you are wrong.
Benjamin, I am not wrong. You are rich. She is poor. She will use you to break you down, and in the end, she will force you back to my doorstep as a shattered and traumatized man.
You tell such a winding tale, Father.
Poverty means restriction. Poverty is awfully embarrassing. Without money, you are nothing. Money gives you respect. Money gives you authority. It eases your mind and gives you freedom. With money, you have choices. It lets you do whatever you want. Your idea of just being well educated and reeling off beliefs that you can make great things happen, this is only a youngster's myth. Knowledge merely gets you through a conversation. You are solely made the center of attention for a few minutes. Now, where is the wealth and power in that?
The buffoons that you mentioned earlier, what do they do exactly?
As I do not wish to ruin my newfound happiness, I shall leave it up to your Aunt Sophie to break the deeply exciting news.
Being your son is one of the hardest and most demanding roles I have ever had to fulfill. You have no idea how tired and lonely I feel sometimes.
It's called adulthood. You must learn to absorb how the system works within this mansion. Yes, you are my son, and yes, you are close to my heart, but you are also a man who has a huge amount to achieve. Until you do so, I have enormous difficulty in showing you pertinent respect and admiration.
As usual, Father, you're not being fair.
My responsibility as a father deems it necessary. Something you will only realize when you have a son of your own.
Suddenly the door opens with a bang. Thomas Devereux, the eldest son, enters. He is a little drunk and untidily dressed. He is 33 years old. Frederick is very annoyed. Benjamin is pleased to see him.
Sorry to barge in like this, but could one of you lend me some money? I did have some before, but now I'm absolutely penniless.
Thomas Devereux, do you have any control over your manners?
Look, Father, I need a drink. I need to feel good about myself, so can I have some money? Or perhaps my inheritance?
What inheritance?
I just need enough so that I can buy 2 rounds down at the Lion's Head. You should come with me, Father. We have such a good laugh.
Please leave before I call security.
Tom, here you go.
Benjamin hands him some money. Thomas grabs the notes and stuffs them in his pocket.
I know you don't love me, Father, but don't worry. I love you for who you are. I don't care about your faults or revulsion towards me. You know we should all love each other and accept each and every one just the way they are. Amen.
I don't like talking to you when you are intoxicated. Please leave.
I'm not drunk. Look at these steady hands.
You better go now.
Why can't you accept me for who I am? It's not as if I'm sleeping with a maid or stealing money from the family safe. Father, I haven't done anything wrong.
The only major imperfection that did occur was 34 years ago when your mother decided to give birth to her impudent and vulgar son, and then leave me with the depressing burden of raising him.
Wow. I am going to see my mother, and I will ask her if she agrees with you, or whether with disgust she's turning in her grave. At least she'll listen to me, and she definitely doesn't think I have a drinking problem.
If you know what is best for you, you will get out of this room right now.
You don't have to take that tone with me. I was leaving anyway. Oh, before I forget, I don't know if either of you have heard Tunnel's Bakery caught fire yesterday.
Really? How did that happen?
Well,
Well, what?
I was trying to woo Josie McIntyre. She had put 40 Chelsea buns in the oven, and then she had a few minutes to spare, so I thought, this is my chance. I was doing so well until the burning odor came wafting into the atmosphere, and it completely ruined the moment. As the blaze worsened, I thought I might as well disappear, so I did.
What about Josie?
Don't know. I think she got away. I'll check if she's all right. Now I must have that drink.
You treacherous fool! What on earth were you thinking? Do you have the slightest idea about the implications of your incessant stupidity?
It was an accident.
I suppose now I will be expecting Mr. Tunnel. Surely the lock on your door has been fixed, Thomas. For goodness sake, why don't you use it? That way you will remain out of trouble and not cause so much chaos.
Is it the money that is bothering you? Once you pay for the damage, I will find a job and I will work day and night to reimburse you.
Your life is within these four walls. Nobody will give you a job. Above all, nobody will even deem you fit enough to make sense of any responsibility. You are simply an outcast within the Devereux clan. Your interminable excuse is depression and loneliness, which completely override hope of any accomplishment.
Wow. I must have been switched at birth, because clearly if you were my father, you would speak with a much kinder tone.
This is all down to your juvenile behavior, Thomas. If you were the least bit normal, I would appreciate you. You certainly would not witness this sort of discourse.
Oh, I'm bored now. I must dash.
Before you disappear, young man, there is something in particular that I would like to bring to your attention.
Is it something exciting? Should I sit down?
If only it was exciting. I have been made aware by a reliable source that you were seen departing from the residence of Madame Lubell. Is that correct?
Maybe.
Thomas Devereux, please do not try my patience. Were you or were you not at that address sometime last week?
Who gave you that information? Was it your inferior and brainless assistant, Penchard?
So you admit it.
I am admitting to whatever you want me to admit to, Father.
You must refrain from visiting such undignified and low-class quarters.
It's just for mere company. You are mistaken if you believe that I go in there for anything else.
You have two sisters in this mansion. You have Benjamin. You have Auntie Sophie, your stepmother, Veronica, and Penchard. What more do you want?
Yes, I know. But I do need friends. Nobody wants to know me for who I am. So I end up going to people who will understand me for being me. I'm so sick and tired of being persistently judged, especially when you tell me that I'm an outcast. It's hurtful. But ho hum, life goes on.
Unfortunately.
Please tell Penchard to stop spying on me. Next time I won't hesitate to disfigure him.
Get out!
With great pleasure, Father. Have a good day. And when you see Mr. Tunnel, give him my regards and tell him he has terrific buns in his shop. Oh, and another thing. Apparently, there's a dead body in Monument Valley. The lads down at the Lion's Head were talking about it.
A dead body in Monument Valley?
I said, get out! Right now!
Have I hit a nerve, Father? Oops. See you later, Ben. Thanks for the cash.
Frederick waits for Thomas to leave. Benjamin awkwardly smiles as Thomas cheerfully exits. End of excerpt.
Monstrous Villainy, a play by Rex McGregor. Setting, a cabin at a summer acting camp.
Who's there?
A light comes on. Carmela takes off a backpack.
Hola, I'm Carmela, your roomie.
You've arrived very late.
I always do.
I thought you weren't coming.
An old showbiz trick. Keep 'em waiting, then make a star's entrance.
Would you mind turning off the light?
Why?
Camp curfew, lights out at 11.
Screw that, I'm a night person.
You missed orientation.
Lucky me.
The counselors went over all the rules.
Bully for them. What's your name apart from Miss Goody Two Shoes?
Riley,
Well, Riley, I'm here to have fun, are you?
I'm here to work.
Oh, single-minded. Sounds like I'll have stiff competition.
Are you going for the lead in the movie?
Isn't it obvious?
Far too obvious.
Meaning?
Your flashiness might suit the stage, but film acting requires subtlety.
You can talk, Miss So Cool, I wear shades at night.
I have sensitive eyes.
A huge flaw for an actor. Mine shine in the spotlight.
The counselors are planning a horror movie. They'll shoot most of the scenes in the dark.
That's what attracted me. I can sleep all day.
Lazy bones.
My ambition kicks in once the sun sets and takes no prisoners.
Such nuance.
This project doesn't need that shit.
Tell the director.
You got the genre wrong. It's not horror. They're making a monster movie.
A monster movie is a subcategory of horror.
No, they're totally different beasts. Horror, suspense, and psychology. Monsters are blood and guts.
Slasher movies have their fair share of gore.
But the killers are human. A monster must belong to another species.
What about Frankenstein?
Frankenstein's creature was created.
From human body parts.
The lack of a soul qualifies him as a monster.
What makes you the authority?
Decades of study.
Decades?
I'm older than I look.
Really?
Thanks. Your doubt means I'm convincingly young.
Have you had plastic surgery?
No. Everyone in my family is blessed with a youthful appearance.
If you're so mature, then what are you doing at acting camp?
I'll go anywhere for a role I can sink my teeth into. This one's perfect for me.
How can you be so sure? There's no script yet.
I know.
They haven't even decided on the sort of monster.
They soon will, once I display my talent.
I wish I had your confidence.
Want some advice?
Sure.
Give up now. You don't stand a chance.
Maybe your smugness is just the inspiration I need.
I was actually being tactful. Even if I wasn't in the running, no one would cast you.
Why not?
Look at yourself. You're hardly bursting with charisma.
That's not fair. You've caught me in the middle of the night, without makeup.
Wearing a headscarf in bed.
For a reason.
No religion can be that restrictive.
A physical reason.
Oh, is your hair falling out? Do you wake up with clumps on your pillow? Sorry, that was rude. Please don't tell Will Smith.
I'm not going bald. Sometimes I wish I was.
Seriously?
My hair is so unmanageable. It gets everywhere, even when I sleep.
Another major flaw for an actor. My silken tresses are my crowning glory.
Don't you have any faults? Apart from the excessive vanity? Let me narrow it down. Anything wrong with your body? Most women can answer that question without hesitation.
Give me a moment. I've never thought about it before.
Oh, goodness. I've heard creatures like you exist.
Creatures?
Women who are physically perfect, or even rarer, women who think they are.
I found a flaw. My skin. It's terrible.
Oh, I'm so relieved. Though it looks fine to me.
Only because I stay out of the sun.
Avoiding sun damage is common sense. It's no reflection on the state of your skin.
No reflection.
What's so funny?
Nothing.
If your skin is as susceptible to ultraviolet radiation as everyone else's, it's hardly a flaw.
Mine is especially prone.
Do you burn easily?
I'm too careful to risk it.
Strange. You don't seem particularly pale.
I never said I was.
Hang on. Hang on. Something's not right here.
Finally, I've dropped enough clues.
What?
I shun daylight. Stay young, have no reflection. Want a role I can sink my teeth into?
You're a vampire!
Exclaiming now is a bit anticlimactic.
Not to me.
Even my name is a dead giveaway. Carmela.
Oh, you were named after Carmilla in the novel Le Fanu.
Excuse me. Le Fanu named her after me. The man had no originality.
If I remember correctly, his vampire was a lesbian.
He didn't make that up either.
Why are you telling me all this?
I like my victims to know what's in store.
Victims?
It's so tiresome when they wake up undead and demand explanations.
So, you intend to bite my neck and drink my blood?
There. You're an ideal candidate, familiar with the procedure. Lie back.
No, thank you. I must decline the honor.
Pardon me, Riley. My politeness has led you to imagine you have a choice.
Forgive me, Carmela. I didn't make myself clear. I can't become a vampire.
We'll work on your self-confidence once you've joined us. The coven frowns on wimps.
You don't understand.
Enough. I have a big audition tomorrow. I need a dose of blood to pep me up.
I'm afraid I can't let you hijack the movie.
Hijack?
The world is fed up with vampire flicks. Dracula, Nosferatu, Twilight. Give us a break.
I don't like your tone.
My full name is Uriel. I am a Gorgon.
Oh, what?
You may be familiar with my dear departed younger sister, Medusa.
The name rings a bell. Hideously ugly, snakes in her hair.
A vile Greek chopped her head off and used it as a shield, or rather, a weapon. It turned anyone who saw it to stone.
You can avoid her fate, become one of the undead.
That holds no appeal for me. Unlike my sister, I'm already immortal.
Great. You must have vintage blood, like, fine old wine. Give me a taste.
Keep back.
Relax. This can be an erotic experience for us both, Riley. Don't look so petrified.
You're the one who'll be petrified.
Take your shades off. Let me gaze into your eyes.
You asked for it.
Ah!
Carmela freezes as if turned to stone.
The bad news is you'll be frozen in stone forever. The good news is you'll be conscious the whole time. By the way, tomorrow I'll launch a new movie franchise. Snakes on a Brain.
End of play.
Bravo. Love.
At Rise, the family are starting their evening meal when Otto von Klotka lets himself in.
Pardon me for entering unannounced, but there was no servant around to let me in.
Oh, Count von excuse me. Herr von Klotka, this is a surprise.
Welcome, surprise. What brings you here this evening? You invited me.
Excuse me. I haven't had the pleasure.
Oh, forgive me. Franz von Tog, this is our new acquaintance, Sir Otto of the Castle Klotka. Sir Otto, this is my young cousin, Franz von Tog. You've already met my daughter, Lady Francine, and my niece, Lady Bertha.
You actually live in that abandoned castle?
Obviously, it's not abandoned. I live there. The castle was built by my family. We used to own the land around it before we fell upon hard times. Von Fannenberg has been kind enough to grant me permission to remain there now that he has inherited the property.
You must sit, Sir Otso. Will you take some supper? There is plenty.
Thank you, my lady, but no supper for me. I have a delicate constitution and cannot eat solids.
Then we must share a bumper of wine.
No, thank you. I neither drink wine nor any cold beverage.
Hot tea, then. It will be ready at once.
Thank you, my lady. Not at present, but I think that soon I will require that or other warm drink from you. And when that time comes, I will let you know.
Pardon me for asking, Sir Otso, but are you quite well? You look
like the living dead.
Oh, of course not.
I do. The hunting season has been poor in these parts, and I am somewhat malnourished. But fresh food supplies have appeared recently, and I shall be my old self in no time.
How did you all
meet? Perhaps our host should tell the tale, or he will consent to allow Lady Francine to do so.
Go ahead, daughter. You're dying to tell.
The weather was wild while we were traveling from Vienna to Trieste. The bitter wind that's so famous in these parts slowed us down, and it grew dark for the last leg of our trip. To our horror, a vicious pack of wolves chased us as though they were intent on tearing us to pieces, until a gentleman appeared on the road and the wolves all turned and fled.
So you are the mysterious stranger that saved my kind from the wolf pack?
You are indebted to me? Lady Francine felt the same way. She invited me to come dine here despite my skeletal appearance and surly demeanor.
Nonsense. I find your manners fascinating and akin to my own. Not surly at all.
I should have said, all but Lady Francine find me surly. But I had no wish to embarrass your poor suitor. Relax, Franz. It was a jest.
Sir Otso, I wish you would have some food, especially since, as you say, you are malnourished.
I too wish that I could dine right now, but unfortunately, I must wait a little.
Do you live all alone at Castle Klotka?
Yes. Ever since my family fell upon hard times, I cannot afford servants. And if I could, I would find them to be a nuisance, and they would find me a harsh and intolerant master.
Is that why you are unmarried, sir? Would you be a harsh and intolerant husband?
I am sure you would, and any woman worth her salt would welcome it. A forceful husband is far preferable to weak, subservient men. Fiery, frank, fearless women need strong men to tame their wild hearts.
Francine, that is inappropriate. Don't let your intolerance of Franz make you ridiculous in front of our guest.
Is it not terribly lonely for you, Sir Otso?
It would be if I were up and about during the day, but I spend the night bright hours sleeping. At night, I am merry enough.
Indeed. And how do you spend your nights then? Have you a company of friends?
I hunt at night, and yes, friends do accompany me at times. Night beings like myself. Hunting at night is far more thrilling than during the day, guided by the moon, which is my son, and the sounds and smells of the darkness.
It sounds like a peculiar and
Repugnant life? Yes, to you it would seem that way.
Well, I understand you. You despise the conventional and comfortable and take pleasure only in nonconformity and adventure with others who think like you. I am exactly the same way. I cannot abide the comfortable, dull life of my class, softened and spoiled by feather beds and silk gowns and needlepoint and slow drives in the country. I crave discomfort, pain, risk, heroism, adventure. Only these things make life worth living.
Never give up that way of thinking, my lady. Your sentiments are rare, even for a man of noble birth, let alone a woman. It is a pity you were not born a man. What companions we would make, hunting side by side at night. However, even a woman who thinks like you can change her life, should she take action.
she's not a man. She's a woman, and she's as good as engaged to me.
Hardly. I will marry whom I wish, not as father dictates, and when I do, it will not be to a pampered poodle who refuses to serve his country in battle out of fear of dirtying his lily white hands.
That's enough, both of you. Sorazzo, I apologize for this spat at my table. My niece and my cousin have forgotten their manners.
No need to apologize to me. I was not paying the slightest bit of attention. But excuse me, I have taken enough advantage of your hospitality for one evening, and now I must away and procure my own supper. I trust I may call upon you again.
Oh, you're always welcome, sir. Okay, so everybody's now off except for Bertha and Francine. And myself, after I read the intro, Bertha and Francine are at breakfast. Francine picks at her food. She is listless and pale. Whoops.
Are you unwell, cousin? I've never seen you so pale and fatigued.
Just a bit tired. I seem to be suffering from an early onset of the monthly complaint.
Oh. Well, you require raw meat and brandy.
Yes, just the thing.
Well, what is that on your nightgown? You're bleeding.
Oh, I seem to have cut myself in my sleep.
Well, let me see. Oh, that is no cut. Those are puncture wounds.
Nonsense, just pimples that I scratched during the night. You are far too melodramatic.
Good morning, ladies. Guess what? I ran into our friend Otso early last evening on my way home from the village. He said he was obtaining supplies. I cannot imagine what supplies he hoped to procure so late, but I suppose he must be eating better because he was so much improved in appearance I almost didn't recognize him. Only the rusty armor gave him away.
It seems Sir Otso's health improves while mine fades.
That doesn't sound like my feisty daughter. A few days' fatigue doesn't equal fading health. I'm going for a walk. The two of you should join me. The air will do you good.
Bertha, I dreamed of Otso the other night. He approached my bed and bent toward me.
Francine, that sounds indecent.
He kissed my throat. I couldn't breathe. I felt a sharp pain where the puncture wounds are. I woke up more afraid than I have ever been. I looked up and I could swear I saw him standing next to my bed. Then I blinked and he was gone.
Well, that's alarming. A man is preying on your imagination. I think there is a connection between your night vision and your illness.
Only in that it deprived me of sleep.
Well, when my fiance arrives, we should consult with him. He has seen so many strange things in his travels. No matter how peculiar an event may be, he always has an explanation.
We can't tell your knight about my dream. He'll think me mad and never let you speak to me again.
Perhaps you will be well by then, and it won't matter.
I hope I am, but if I am not, perhaps you could speak to your fiancé for me.
Oh, I will. We will get to the bottom of this, cousin. I promise.
Well done.
Oh.
Lovely.
What do you think about time? Most of us believe there is always time, no matter how much we waste or use. We believe we always have more. However, that is not the reality of time. Unfortunately for me, I learned the tragic truth about time. A few years ago, I was running to catch the downside bus to work. I'd been told that if I was to show up late one more time, I may as well not show at all. I missed the bus. I sat down on the bench. I just sat with my face buried in my palms. I probably would have sat on that bench the entire day had I not been startled by a voice. I looked up to see a small elderly gentleman sitting next to me. I had not heard him walk up or sit next to me. The gentleman was dressed in a black suit. He had a full bushy mustache that matched his neatly cut white hair. He wore glasses and a small black hat. In his lap was a very large black leather case.
Did you miss your bus?
Yes, I did. And now I'm going to lose my job.
That's extremely unfortunate. What happened?
I just needed 5 minutes more. I'd be riding the bus right now if I had had 5 more minutes.
Just 5 minutes? That is all you need?
Well, not now. Now I would be more like 20 minutes.
Just 20 minutes.
He stared off and began tapping his finger to his lips.
Just 20 minutes. That's doable. That's definitely doable. You're very fortunate as my business is selling time. Perhaps you'd like to purchase some time for yourself.
I looked at the wide assortment of timepieces and nodded. Yes, I needed more time, but I don't need to buy a watch. I just need to get to work on time.
Precisely, my good fellow. You need more time, and I have time to sell. I am a time broker. You see, these time vessels contain an allotted amount of time. I provide time for people like yourself who never seem to have enough of it. You said you needed 20 minutes. I can give you that 20 minutes. All you have to do is purchase the vessel. You see, time is a commodity. It can be used, transferred, spent, or lost. What I sell is the container for transferring time to those who need more of it.
I see. You don't sell watches. You sell the actual time.
That is exactly correct.
How much does time these days?
That would depend on how much a person might need. But you must understand that time is a very finite commodity. It can be very expensive.
Finite. I thought the time was endless.
Oh, no. Time is like everything else. It has an ending. Nothing lasts forever. Even time will eventually end. We've all been given our share of time, and as we use it, it's irreplaceable. However, as I said, it can be transferred. That's where I come in. I take time from one place, borrow it, and move it to another. I'm merely selling the cost of transfer and providing the vessel to transport the time. Now, as far as your present situation, the longer we talk about time, the more time you will need. I could sell you the 20 minutes to be used today for, say, $200. $200 just to save your job. I'm sure your job's worth more than $200.
I almost laughed, but the fact that I was sitting next to a lunatic made me cautious. I don't have that much money, and it would be difficult for me to buy a $200 watch.
Time vessel. I can understand your reluctance, as most people find it difficult to accept time as a commodity.
He paused for a moment, and then his mouth slowly turned into a cockeyed grin, and his eyes drew into narrow little slits.
I stake my business on being a good judge of character. I believe that you have potential for future transactions. I will give you the vessel with 20 minutes allotted at no cost.
You're just going to give me a watch for free?
A time vessel.
He drew a golden pocket watch out of the briefcase.
Here is one that is perfect for you. The 20 minutes have already been allotted, but you must decide quickly, because by waiting, you're going to need more time. And I'm only prepared to give away 20 minutes, no more.
Okay. Let's say I take the watch. What happens then?
Time vessel.
He placed the vessel in the palm of my hand.
It's very simple. You just wind the hand back 20 minutes. Go ahead, adjust the hand back.
Now what?
Next, you just press the button on the top. But before you press the button, you must remember that time is a finite commodity. The time you are given will usually come from another person within your proximity. You may notice someone near you experiencing a loss of time.
Well, that would be unfortunate, but I need to get to work. So all I have to do is to push this button.
Yes, go ahead, push the button.
I smiled at the little man and pressed the button. Bing! There was an immediate white flash, and I felt as though I would pass out. I feel dizzy. What happened?
It was just time shifting, adjusting for the extra 20 minutes.
I was about to ask what happens next when, as I looked up, I could see an approaching bus, clearly labeled Downtown Express. That's odd. What bus could that be?
I believe that is your bus.
Can't be. There's only one express. The old man stood up, holding his large case with two hands in front of him.
And yet, here it is.
When the bus reached the bus stop, I hesitated, but then I get on. I cautiously made my way to a seat. Before sitting down, I glanced out the window. The little man had vanished. Cut. Or I can continue reading if you want me to. Stefan?
Well, we can finish the script.
Okay, sure. Now I did get to work that day on time. The funniest thing was my boss, who had never been late a day in his life, came to work that day 20 minutes late. He seemed to be very confused and had no explanation as to his lateness, only saying he had a momentary feeling of dizziness just before he left his house. After that day, I became a believer in time manipulation. It seemed every time that I had got in a bind with running out of time, the little man would just appear. Whenever I needed more time, there he was. I became hooked on procrastination remediation. The more time I bought, the more time I needed. If I forgot a birthday gift or an anniversary present, I would simply sneak off, wind the hands of the pocket watch back to the time I needed and return the gift in hand. I never had to worry about getting to work on time or delivering a critical report for a deadline. Whatever time I needed, I bought again and again. I did not even care that the time I bought was borrowed from other people. Till that one day I borrowed more time I could afford. I was up for another promotion, which all hinged on a cost analysis presentation. I watched my competition run around frantically coming in early, staying late, and working weekends. I often thought of them falling asleep at their desks as I sipped another Long Island iced tea at the bar across the street. Those poor people, I thought as I sipped on another drink. Of course, I could work on my presentation, but the fact was I knew more about the project than anyone else. All I needed was enough time, and I thought I could always get more time. The day of the presentation, I strolled into the office after a nice long breakfast. There was panic and fatigue written all over their faces. I casually strolled into my office and stretched back in my chair. I moved back the hands of my time vessel, 20 minutes, and pressed the button. I took my borrowed time and put the finishing touches on the presentation. I leisurely strolled to the conference room at 10:35 and gave my presentation. I got the promotion. I left the conference room walking on air. Feeling quite satisfied with myself, I walked past by my office to take an extended early lunch when I was stopped by the receptionist. She mentioned me over and whispered to me that my daughter had been injured during a soccer game. She had been taken to the emergency room downtown for head trauma. I rushed into the hospital. My wife was seated in the hallway. There was a doctor standing over her. She was crying and did not look up at me. The doctor looked at me as I approached them. He told me they had done all they possibly could do. He said there was just not enough time to operate. 20 minutes, he said. If only they had 20 minutes, then he just turned around and walked away. I desperately tried to wind the hands of the time vessel back, but they would not budge, and I never saw the little man again. The vessel had stopped at 10:35, the same time I had walked into the conference room with my finished presentation. The same time the doctors had announced my daughter's death. The time I had borrowed that day had been my daughter's. What I learned too late is we are all allotted a finite amount of time. It is important that we appreciate every precious second that we have been given. We all must be very thankful for the time we have and never ever waste of it.
Wonderful. What a great message.
Well, it's now usually our little conversation. I hope the rest of us can stay. Does anybody have to duck out?
I can stay for one more time.
All right.
Oh, there goes one person. Okay. So our first play was Tasman's.
Thank you, everyone. I didn't have an opportunity to thank everyone. Thank you so much. And after watching the performance, I was like, oh, okay. Everyone's in a rush. I may have been able to cut it down somewhat, but it is what it is because that is the show and that is what we signed up for. And nobody did anything in advance. Some of us did, some of us didn't. So that's life. And to all the actors, you were absolutely tremendous, fabulous. Thank you so, so much. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jasmine.
Yeah. Okay.
This was really fun to play. It was like I think I just messaged you, Tasman, a minute ago. It was like a rich and varied meal, you know, and you have all these different tastes from different places, and then you just want some more.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Good.
Great.
Hey, Rex.
It was good to see an opportunity for some of the actors that we've seen before explore their range, particularly Paul and Leslie. I hadn't seen them in those sort of roles before, and they were really, they just totally nailed them. And I love the accents too. It was great.
Yeah.
And Jasmine, I loved your line, a ferocious donkey called Dracula. What a delicious phrase.
Yes, yes. That was because I was struggling. In the beginning, I was thinking, well, it's Halloween and I'm not really a horror person. The best I could do was a dead body and, ferocious donkey called Dracula. And I thought, take it or leave it, yes. Someone might say, it's not Halloween-y enough. I'm sorry. But that's the best I can do. Thank you. Yeah, but next time I'll just stick to, now I'm just thinking, I know I've started this, but if I do carry this on, it's a huge play, and to condense it, I'll have to work on it and make it like, a few minutes and do it that way. With other rehearsals, etc., it's been difficult, but I will condense it next time if we carry on with this, and I'm sure we will.
Yeah, we try to keep them to like 10 minutes or less, but I know sometimes.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no, that's cool. Duly noted. Until it happens, you don't know, do you? But yeah, duly noted. But yeah, everybody was great. I can't wait to watch it on the YouTube when you upload it, Stephen.
Yeah, it's
I'll
fun
be
to
doing that.
Yeah,
before
great.
next weekend, if things work out. Yeah. So we want to move on to Monstrous Villainy. Rex
Yeah, I enjoyed that. Yeah, it's good. So different to what we started with. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought for sure she was going to be a werewolf. I'm glad it was somebody completely different.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah,
That was
exactly.
a surprise ending. Yeah, it was.
Which character? My character you thought was going to be a werewolf?
Yeah, just I recently saw a play in Queens, and that was The Switch, where these vampires happened to take in the wrong person, and she ended up being a werewolf, and she ends up.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, I like the ending.
I mean, I'm like Medusa is not a character that you just think of normally, so that was a great twist, I think.
Yeah.
But you mentioned a different character, like you were the sister of Medusa.
Yeah, exactly. It was her. Yeah, I was her sister. I'm her sister, her immortal sister.
So does she have different effect on people than Medusa does?
No, she has the same effect,
Okay.
but she's immortal. See, Medusa was actually killed. That's why I couldn't use her, because she's dead.
Okay.
I like to be accurate. Yeah, there were three sisters, and the other two were immortal.
And for Medusa, were the people who were turned to stone, were they still conscious of being that way?
I don't know. I made that up.
Okay.
I just like the idea.
Such a nice
I love
touch,
that.
Rex.
I like the phrase where she says, "The good news is that you're conscious the whole time." That would be my worst nightmare.
There is a form of a coma that some people are in where they're they can hear what's going on and they can't move, they can't speak.
Absolutely, Mary. That's true. Yes, that was at the back of my mind. Yes, it is a horrifying experience.
And what makes horror horror is that even if it's supernatural, it reminds us of something that could happen. And that's why we're afraid of it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was.
It'd be like kind of being in a coma, knowing that you're there and everybody around you is trying to connect with you, and you're there going, just let me talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even more common, people who have strokes are often fully, their brain is fully operational. They just cannot express what they want to in words. And that's so frustrating.
Oh, it would be, yeah. I've heard of that too. People who, hard to communicate and you want to so badly. Yeah.
And the interesting thing is that we have another opportunity to see this tomorrow night.
Yeah, so I'll tell you how this play came about. I had several opportunities to write for. So Stephen's referring to a group called NCP Lab, and they asked for a play about the everyday life of a monster. And then I had another group I was writing for. I was assigned 2 specific actors, both young women, and it was to be about movies. And I was given the genre of monster movie. And I thought, I'll kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So I'll make the everyday life of a monster. And there was also a time limit. I had 48 hours to write this play for the other opportunity. So I spent a lot of time just thinking, which monster can I use? And I was originally thinking of, Ursula from The Little Mermaid.
Oh, yeah.
The octopus lady. Yeah. And I thought, well, Disney doesn't like people using their property. So I tried to think of another one. And I kept coming back to vampires, but I thought, everybody's seen vampires. And then I thought, what if I put a vampire in, but also have another monster, Medusa, because people won't be expecting that. So I was actually hoping people would catch on to the fact that the Carmela character was a vampire, because she's dropping a lot of clues, but I wanted to hide the fact that Megan's character
it was very clear she was
a Gorgon.
It was good, yeah.
Especially the line, "No reflection on you."
Yeah, that was one of the clues.
And I just want to tell you, Rex, that we were competing for another actor again. Rex and I have an opportunity for a play in Pennsylvania on November the 12th. And I think they're still trying to cast yours, but I stole one of your actors.
Oh, did you? Oh. Does Bridget know?
Yeah, I've been emailing her because I told the story early on when a few people were here about how much trouble I was having getting it cast.
Yeah.
I wonder if they can have the same actor playing 2 roles. Is that a possibility? I don't know.
It's possible, but I had a second actor whose schedule didn't work with the other 2, so I told Bridget about him, so maybe she'll contact him.
Are these in person or are they on Zoom?
Well, we're going to do rehearsals on Zoom, but the play is on stage. It's live.
Where in LA?
Rutledge, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Where?
Rutledge, Pennsylvania.
Oh, never. I don't know where that is.
It's just outside of Philadelphia.
Oh, okay. I'm from Pittsburgh originally. So when you say Pennsylvania, I'm always like, well, where?
We call it Delaware County, I think.
Oh, okay.
So we're on to Mary. Mary?
Oh, yeah, I was just waiting for people to.
Yeah, this was a fascinating. I didn't know any of this, the background of where Dracula came from, perhaps, and it was just interesting to see this other version. And Carol was just so wonderful in that role.
Yeah, I totally agree with Frank.
The voice and the makeup, the whole package was just really, really totally convincing.
Brilliant, yeah.
Really was.
Good.
Sorry, I didn't have a black wig. I had to be.
That was like
It was brilliant.
examples.
Yeah.
These were
It
just
was very effective.
These were
it
just
was.
examples. Those were just examples and suggestions I was throwing out, just to kind of get you just something to put you a little in character, as opposed to maybe just having like a red t-shirt and a baseball cap. You know what I mean? You know, I wasn't like asking, you know, so if you happen to have an old black Halloween wig hanging around, or if you have a like something to put over your head, or just something to look a little bit spooky.
Yeah. Well, she did
it worked out. What you did with your hair
Yes.
was terrific. I mean, you know.
Yes.
It was.
So it was great.
Yeah. That was scary enough, and your voice too. Your voice.
Yeah, I was going
perfect,
to say. I think everybody said what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
But
And the
yeah,
attitude,
brilliant.
and your attitude of just so quiet. Just
Yeah.
wow.
Just spooky. Gave you chills after just listening.
Creepy, creepy.
Yeah,
Everyone did
very
good in that.
creepy.
Yeah.
Well, props to the director, Mary, because she
Yeah.
said just play him very, what was the word? Very flat. So
Yeah. Like don't go in there with like, you know, I'm evil, you know what I mean? And because you already look evil. So yeah,
Yeah.
just play him just
And
play
her
him kinda
voice
flat.
too made it so creepy. You
Yeah.
know, it's like, wow.
You're not evil, you're just hungry.
Yeah, poor thing. Nothing to eat in a long time. What are you gonna
Yeah. Well, in the book, the character was actually a kind of serial killer before he became a vampire. There were people in Eastern Europe who believed that the people who became vampires were suicides and people who were evil criminals in life, and maybe they couldn't get proper Christian burials or whatever, and so they would
Ooh,
rise.
wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so that was so the Knight von Klotka was actually killed by, and it was ripped, you know, dragged out of his castle by an angry mob because he had been abducting and killing young girls. Very much like the real Countess Elizabeth Bathory, who actually, although some people think it might not have been true, but I think it was from what I've read. Countess Elizabeth Bathory was a serial killer countess who tortured and killed female servants, and she and her friends, for fun, basically.
Nice.
And so she actually she was sentenced to house arrest, and she was forced to just live in one room in her castle, and she died 4 years later.
Oh, wow.
But that was a pretty easy sentence. That was they were afraid of humiliating the nobility of Hungary. And maintaining the pride and morale among the nobility was more important than bringing someone who had killed dozens and dozens of people to justice. So yeah, they executed her friends who were commoners, who helped her out, but they didn't execute her. She lived in a room in her castle, which, yeah, and then just one day, just I guess died. But yeah, but so she was real, and I think, and but von Klotka was rather like her, only like a male version. He was dragged out and just basically lynched in effect by the outraged townspeople, and then he became a vampire. So that was the backstory for him. But yeah, so I was just saying, I think I'm thinking of her as somebody who's bitter, somebody who's unhappy, and just play it flat. It is really no difference between the vampire and the man, except that he's just killing people differently. So you just play him like as a human, you know. So, and then the actors who played the humans just all did a great job of just being regular people trying to deal with this guy. And you know, the clueless father who thinks, well, he's a knight, so how bad could he be? And and then Bertha and Franz, who know something's terribly wrong with this guy, that they're being polite, but they know something's terribly, terribly wrong. And then Francine, who actually is Francesca in the book, but I changed it to Francine just to make it a little easier. Francine is just infatuated with him because she's one shade on the safe side of loopy herself. So she's very, very kind of intense and manic, and she just thinks, oh wow, somebody who's different, and he's not the lame guy that Dad wants me to marry, and this is just an opportunity for her to rebel. And then So anyway, yeah, so that was, but yeah, I think that this story should get the credit it deserves for all those, that whole line, that very famous, "I never drink wine," attributed to Dracula. He didn't say it, von Klotka did, you know, so, and that line that from Langella's movie, you know, I don't know if any of you have seen that Dracula movie, it's really good.
Love that movie.
Yeah, and he said, if you ever tire of my company, remember that you have only yourself to blame for an acquaintance that seldom forces himself, but is difficult to be rid of. And I remember thinking at the time, what do you mean seldom forces himself? If Dracula forces himself on people all the time, but von Klotka really doesn't. He's going to kind of leave these people alone until they say, "Oh, come on, visit." Okay. So yeah, and that was
I don't
stolen
like horror
right
movies.
from that story. What?
I actually can't stand horror movies. I don't have the spine for it at all.
Yeah.
And so, but they made it so romantic and sexy.
Yes.
Then it was
It's a good, yeah,
more
it's not faithful
acceptable.
to the book, but it's not faithful to the book, but it's a good movie.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, and the whole thing of having the two couples that socialize with Dracula is from that story, because in the book, Dracula only appears and really only appears regularly in the early part of the book, where the man goes to visit him in Transylvania. And then after that, once Dracula comes to England, what you see is the results. You know, you just see that all of a sudden, you know, people are dying. This woman is walking around fading and losing her health. Nobody knows why. Then she dies, and then she starts molesting boys, basically.
Oh, gosh, goodness.
Yeah. Yeah, there's child molesting, you know, basically there's these little, yeah. Because, well, she's not strong enough to attack adults, so she attacks these boys, but it's in a kind of a sexual way. So, and then it's like, what is going on? And then they figure it out. Oh, it's Dracula. This guy Dracula has come to England and he's doing all this. But he's really very much in the background. It's more, and because he was his character was really a metaphor for syphilis. And with syphilis, you know, you're not interacting with a person called syphilis, of course. You're seeing the results of an unseen enemy, which is the syphilis germ, the bacteria, I think or is it a virus? I don't remember. Anyway, yeah, and so that's kind of what it's like when you read Dracula. You are seeing people, you know, losing their physical and their mental health, and you don't know why. So, but in The Mysterious Stranger, there's actually, he socializes and interacts with the characters, which works better for a movie. So I think that they kind of mingled those two. They took the best from the two stories and put them together for the movies. So I just want more people to be aware of that story. Hardly anybody knows about it. I wrote an article about it for a horror movie once, and they ignored it. So
Thanks for bringing it
not a
up.
horror movie, a horror magazine. Sorry, it was many years ago, back before the internet. I think even I wrote an article about it for a horror magazine. I never heard back.
So our last one was timeshare. Chuck? And
Sorry,
Abdul?
who wrote that last one?
Oh, I did.
Steven, you wrote it?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Very good.
Yeah, it was really, I really like the whole concept.
Yeah, it was very
And,
insightful.
you know, at the end when he's like, the time I had taken that day was my daughter's. Oh my God. I teared up. I was like, oh
Yeah.
my God. Yeah.
Very
Really liked
good.
it.
Never get away with it.
It was a little difficult, I think, for Abdul because he's acting his parts and parts of the dialogue. He's also the narrator because this was originally written as a monologue, and there wasn't two characters. There's one character, and he's reading both parts.
Oh.
Got it.
I think if we had had more time to rehearse, it would have gone a little bit smoother. But otherwise, I think he did a really good job, and Chuck too.
I really liked it. I
definitely.
really
I
liked
think
Chuck's
too.
character being in there a lot.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And nice surprises, you know, even with time, with so much we know, we don't know. It was nice. It was really good the way it flowed with that reveal at the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was kind of like a visual novel, which I thought made it really interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I guess that's because the character was doing the narrations.
Right,
also.
right. And I just thought that was an interesting to see the narrator of the novel. It was just a very interesting idea to me.
Yeah, thank you guys for such an amazing feedback. Yeah, the only thing was if I would have just, did a little bit of more homework with Stefan maybe on this regard, that what are my parts, where's the monologue, because everything was just in place. But yeah, I really enjoyed reading it, or this particular one. Very well written, Stefan. And also Chuck, yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Was
it
this
really-
a new
it
piece that
really
you wrote,
seemed
Stephen?
as you got to the second part about your daughter, it was almost like you were feeling that for the first
Yeah.
time as you were reading it. And so that
Yeah.
it was very effective.
Thank you. Yeah, there was also when I was reading it earlier, I felt that, okay, there's a transition clearly, there's this man's arrogance, or not really arrogance, but his overconfidence that's peaking. But the gentleman already informed him that it's going to cost somebody's time, which is somebody's life basically.
Right.
So, and it would be somebody in your close proximity. So that was, I was trying to focus more. Okay, and yeah, thank you. Thankfully it showed up. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Head off.
next month.
Yep.
Yep.
Does
Why not
anybody-
next week?
Does anybody want to do?
How are we going to work around Thanksgiving? Does anybody care if it's on
Oh, that's
Thanksgiving
right.
weekend?
Well,
Nope. Not going anywhere.
And there's
When
also
is
there's
Thanksgiving?
always
The 24th, right?
there's always the option of doing it the
So-
week before if you want to.
is the 27th not a good day for people?
Doesn't matter to me.
It doesn't matter to me either. Just some people.
27th. Oh no, yeah, no, it's fine because obviously it's quite late for me anyway. Does that work?
Fine for me.
The only thing that I ask is, so West Coast time, we got finished at 6:46.
You mean East Coast?
No, it was 4:46. So it went from 2 to 4:46, I think.
It's 4:08 here.
4:08, yeah.
Oh, okay, so it was 3:46. So I'd like everybody to at least be able to commit to an hour. It just doesn't seem like if you can only commit to 15 minutes, then it's not going to work for everybody. Like I said, we couldn't
I
have-
don't think an hour. I don't think an hour is enough because that would be 2 to
No, it
3.
wasn't.
And I wish we had had a little bit more rehearsal time.
right.
Yeah, we didn't rehearse
Yeah,
at all. We
same.
just talked. Yeah.
Yeah.
So an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah, that's that
That
gives
makes
us time to
sense.
get
Yeah.
together
Yeah, I was thinking like a
Break
minimum
room and-
hour and a half.
and scripts at 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah,
If
10,
if we
15
could
max.
try to do that, I understand that everybody has other plans, but if you can't commit more than 15 minutes, then maybe you should just pass on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, like
Yeah.
for instance, Joyce had asked me, kind of last minute if she could be in the play, but she didn't. I didn't think to ask her. Okay, are you aware of how that? This is from minimum like 2 to 4. You don't have
Oh,
to stay
so-
for the discussion after, but I 2 to 4 in California, and and then for you guys it's. But it's
Yeah,
it's
so-
about and if she had
Joyce?
told me she needed to leave at 3, I would have said no, sorry.
Mhm.
Yeah, so actually,
Maybe next time. So
So it was her first time, Joyce's first time in the group, and she literally told, like, even I got to know last minute that she had a class, and so maybe I think she'll be more careful in the next week.
No, I'm not because it was our first time and I didn't think to say anything. she might not have known the timing, and I didn't think to say, and that's what I'm saying, but probably like if we're casting or whatever, it's probably a good idea for us to say to actors, can you, this is the amount of time it takes. Is that cool for you?
Yeah.
I should have said it and should have asked. I just didn't think to.
Yeah.
You know, so she
Yeah,
might
that's
have
a
thought
good
this was an hour thing, you know, so I'm not
Mhm.
blaming her, you know, but I just didn't think, it just didn't occur to me. So, and I know that happens a lot, all the people who have to leave early, and sometimes, okay, it's people who have to be out by 4 or a quarter to 4, but if they have to be out by 3 o'clock, that's not fair to everybody else.
Right.
And especially as we don't start on the dot.
No.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, we don't, you know, the moment it is 2 p.m. yours, mine is 10 p.m., we don't start on the dot. So,
No.
yeah, we've got to have some leniency somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. It was a lovely evening. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
everyone. You were brilliant.
Happy
It was very
Halloween.
entertaining.
Thank you to everybody.
Happy Halloween. Don't scare anyone.
you.
Not the
Thank you,
kids.
beautiful
Don't
cast.
scare the kids.
Tess.
Good night.
Okay. Goodbye.
Just
Have a great Sunday. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Stephen. You were wonderful.
Yeah,
And you know
you
what?
can
I
take your
will
mask-
not stop thinking about you.